The concept or word we will deal with is reincarnation. I think in concept it's important, especially important to any philosophy that's going to make the welfare of the future a personal investment, something personally relevant, as people seem to lose connections to their investment in the other sentient beings on this planet very quickly, very easily. They seem to connect to maybe mom and dad and grandma, and that's about as far as it goes. And the other way, it's, yes, children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. The disconnections start happening pretty quickly for people. Intellectually, I think we can understand our mind, our scheming brain, our think of how do I make things better for me brain. This is just a helper in your life. Okay, it's trying to help the thing you call you, the you thing, the emotional animal, the animal, afraid and desirous and wanting, clinging, attaching, aspiring, well, whatever, there's lots of words. And that our brain is just something that works to make the world conform to what I need it to be, the I, me. And it's not very hard to realize that both of these components are interchangeable. The scheming part of us, the smartness, the understanding the system, whether we gained our knowledge from the school of hard knocks or college or reading books, just a bunch of information, experiential knowledge, something we've inputted, and now we can use it to our advantage. And well, that's certainly transferable, that's certainly duplicatable in another person. And the other component, this internal me-ness, this I, is also basic and simple in its function. We're all made out of the flesh. We're all blighted by our mortality and our vulnerability. All of these things, and you extend it to all humans, and you can extend it to all sentient, feeling, emotionally vibrant creatures, and appreciate that they're you. They're just you modified slight change in the structure of the design, just the slightest changes, and mostly silly ones. Okay, their mannerisms are different. They look different. Okay, yeah, we look different. Well, big deal. And yeah, we act different, and we're caught up in different passions. Some people like sushi, some people like football, some people like making videos. Some people gain their satisfaction or relieve their frustrations or their angst or their discomforts. But these differences are just so subtle, so based on cosmetics and aesthetics and simple attachments and conditionings. We can understand those words, can't we? I mean, people over 18 years old, they really should be obligated to understand the difference between something you learn and something conditioned into you, a conditioned preference that makes something beautiful or makes something ugly. And that's really the only distinctions between us. Most of the distinctions between us are based on those things. If I give you my native sensibilities, the things that do hurt me, and the things that give me that stir passion in me, it's likely your philosophy is going to roll more consistent with probably my own, because it's the interrelationship between these sensitivities, these raw, crude sensitivities, and our intellect. The back and forth is what conforms us, confines us, constrains us, and defines us ultimately. And they both play a role in what we will be able to tolerate in our life as a thing, as something we have, as something we live, and what we'll be able to accept, or what we'll tend to accept philosophically as an idea. We do put, we have to be careful all the time to try not to have our philosophies polluted by psychology. Anyway, when the point I'm making, obviously, is that if you deconstruct us, you can see that it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter. The me is not a relevant thing, and it exists in all these other people. The 7 billion other human beings are just as alive as I am, just as full of being as I am, and just as worthy of comfort as I am. And it's just as real an experience if they're going through something horrible as if I'm going through something horrible. The current individuals are an incarnation of me, in a sense, and all future individuals will be, in a sense, me, just with the slightest modifications, modified only in irrelevancy. The substance of what we are is not whether we're Republican or Democrat, isn't whether we're good or bad, isn't whether we're high character or low character, thief or benefactor, or these aren't the things that we are as the core thing. The thing that we are is a sensitive feeling thing, no matter how horrible the behavior might be of that thing. And that's the core of it. And so we have to be philosophically, just logically. The imperative seems quite obvious. There's no point in deriving, in constructing a world, being completely focused on constructing a world for your own benefit. It's illogical, especially if you do it at the expense of constructs that could be done that would benefit so many more people. It's doomed to failure. It's a fulfilling prophecy in the sense of the old admonitions that what you impose, you're doomed to experience, or something, some sort of trite saying that might imply karma, even that what you give to the world is what you're going to end up getting. Well, the fact is, as soon as you give it, you've gotten it. You're the receiver. We're both the giver and the receiver. We are in function. By any standard or any way of observation, rational viewpoint, any rational viewpoint, it's indistinguishable by anything that matters. Are you really going to distinguish between the welfare of a human being based on whether they support the Yankees or the Mets? And that's all the distinctions are. They're all superficial, they're all of little substance, and it's only our exaggeration of these minor differences that make the difference to us psychologically. But we're reacting to nothing. We're reacting to bullshit differences. And we have to have knowledge of that. That has to be part of our philosophical understanding if we are going to describe and define, if we're going to describe and prescribe for the human race or for sentient life on this planet. It should be with that understanding that every horror is not their horror, it's your horror. You might as well be subjected. So when you see it out there, recognize that it's happening to you. Think in those terms. If that were me. Understand that the price isn't over there. That there's no free lunch. There's no free abuse. There's no free exploitation. It's never free. You never get away with it. And so any lack of consideration for any philosophy that is casual in the imposition of horror, torture, gross misery, suffering. Recognize it, understand it, and then honestly tell me that understanding that it's essentially you that's doing that suffering, that you are saying, I would accept that. This is how I would play the game. If I wasn't the winner, I'd still play the game. I'd accept being the loser. And if you can do that honestly, well, that'll be interesting, but I don't think you can. Yeah, I really don't. I don't think you can do that honestly. So anyway, it's a word I've used a lot, and people have never understood it. But we are incarnations of the same thing. We are varieties of the same thing. And the future is our reincarnation. The future is us living forever. And so obviously from someone who might have a less than enthusiastic perspective, a less than gleeful anticipation of the future, I have to look at it worried, concerned, because I know the jeopardy is mine. The jeopardy is real. It will be something as substantive as I am, who is going to be fodder, who's going to be the blood and guts and goo that will run that future engine. It will grind up something that's me-ish, that's essentially me. And how could I feel good about that? That doesn't sound like a good idea, especially when I have no need to invite that into possibility. Why, I have no incentive. It's a big concept, but it's obvious in my opinion. This is not a religious word. This is a word of practical reality. We reincarnate. We as a feeling, sensitive, passionate thing reincarnate. That's what life does. It makes new ones, and then new ones, and then new ones. And unfortunately it disposes of all of them, often in the rudest possible manner. And that should be, I think, it should give a brain pause. The brain should pause and say, this is a problem. This is not sufficiently efficient.